What's up, YouTube? I'm here at a home game at my boy's house. So we're playing a 50-cent $1 game, and this is the competition here. Everybody here, they're all a bunch of donkeys. So my strategy for today's game is just to make my hands and just overbet everything, because they'll call no matter what. They're calling anything pre-flop. So that's really the only thing you got to do in these home games. Make your hand and bet them large and get called down by the whales and the fishes. So y'all enjoy. We're about to get into these hands. Let's go. All right, so we're starting this home game with 98 bucks in our stack. That's right, 98. It's an odd number, but it is what it is. So I have ace through the clubs, and I raise to 4, and I get 3 callers, which is what you expect in these home games. So the flop comes ace, deuce, 4 with 1 club. So I got top pair, gut shot, wheel draw, and a backdoor flush draw. So I decide to bet, and I get 2 callers. So the turn is a 6. So now I'm really not liking my hand anymore. I could be beat easily. And so when I check, it checks around. And now the river is a queen. So when I check, my boy Finney in middle position bets 10. And my boy Scotto, that's sitting right behind him, decides to call. And this donkey Finney shows queen 6. So we floated with nothing. Turned a pair and river 2 pair. So that right there should let you know the type of game that I'm in, and you're going to see a bunch of craziness coming in the next few hands. Okay, so in this next hand, we got king 7 suited. I decide to limp under the gun. Finney's in the low jack, and he raises the 4. There's 3 callers, and we're off to a flop that comes queen, 4, 5 with 2 spades. So I check, Finney checks, and then checks all the way to the button, Gustavo, who then puts out a bet of 5. I have a flush draw, and I have an overcard, so I'm not going anywhere, and actually a backdoor straight draw to go along with it. So I call, Scotto calls. So the turn is the jack of clubs. So now it checks through to the button, Gustavo, and now he decides to bet 10. So I call, Scotto folds, and now the river is a king. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to go check a whole lot. So I decided to go ahead and lead out and put him all in. He has like 35 left in his stack. So I just decided to shove it, and he thinks about it for a second, and I think he's almost angling me because he says this.
Nice call.
Huh?
Nice bet.
I'm just kidding. Gustavo wouldn't do that. So he just mixed up his words. But anyways, he thinks about it for a second, but then he just folds. So I show the 7 of spade, trying to make it seem like I just had a busted flush draw, but I had it. So good fold, Gustavo. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we have a pretty interesting one. So the hijack, my boy Stefan, raises to 3, and there's like 3 callers, like always. So the flop comes 5, 5 deuce. So I told the table that I need small cards, so they're all looking at me like, oh, this is your flop. But anyways, it checks back to Stefan, and he bets 4. So I call, and Solomon calls from the +2 position. So I'm kind of a little skeptical about that. But the turn is a 4. So now I'm open-ended. So when it checks to me, I bet 15. I'm trying to push off anybody off any hand that they may have, like over pairs or anything of the sort. So I decide 15 should be the price to do it, but now Solomon calls and Stefan folds. So now I'm very concerned. So on the river, which is a 7, which I missed my draw, Solomon decides to lead jam for 1450. And I know you're probably thinking that my pot odds is like immaculate. I'm getting like a gazillion to 1, but you got to know in these games, ain't nobody just bluffing their last little bit of a stack when they've been calling, and then lead bluff the river. That's not happening. Not at the casino, not at a home game. So this is what Solomon actually says to me.
I feel like you gotta just pay it off to see it. I feel like you just gotta pay it off to see it. You know.
You think I do, right?
For the vlog.
Do it for your fans. What do they want?
For the fans at home, man.
You want to show?
Nope, for the vlog. Full house.
Good fold. Good
I was about to jam, too.
Big boat.
And I say I would have bluffed all in, but I'm not going to bluff somebody all in when they already put so much in the pot and made it to the river. So it was a good lead. Nice hand. So at the home games, we like to do double board PLO bomb pots. So the way this works is everybody puts in 5, and then there's 2 flops, and then betting resumes as usual. So the great thing about the game is it turns the biggest nits into complete maniacs. So we're sitting with Jack Jack 10-4 suited in clubs, and there's 7 people in, so it's 35 total in the pot. And the top board is ace 8 queen. The bottom board is ace queen 10 with 2 hearts. So we really don't got too much going on besides a gut shot. So it actually checks around. And the top board on the turn is a king of spades, bringing in a spade flush draw. And the bottom board is 5 of clubs. So now I have the nuts on the top board, but I still don't have nothing on the bottom board. So when Steph bets 15, I could be raising seeing as I do have the nuts on one board, but I have nothing going on the other board. So he could easily have a straight just like I do and then have equity on the bottom. So that's how you get quartered in this game. So I just decided to call and Finney decides to call. So now it's just 3 of us going to the river. Now the river is so horrible as the top board is the king and the bottom board is the 7 of hearts. So now there's a full house on the board where we had the nuts straight, and now the bottom board is a flush. So now when Steph decides to bet pot, I think for maybe half of a moment, and then I fold. And I'm really happy I did that because right after that, Fidney decides to go all in, and Steph snap calls. So now I'm thinking, okay, they both got the nuts on each board. So no, Finney and Steph both have king queen on the top board, but Finney has king queen of hearts on the bottom board. So he has the nut flush and he has the same full house as Steph. So he gets quartered, and I luckily didn't decide to be a hero with the paired board. So this is how these games get really crazy because the next bomb pot, everyone's trying to get their get back. So that was that hand, and there's many more to come. All right, so continuing on with the craziness, we have ace king off in the cutoff. I raised to 5, and Scotto on the button calls the 5. Craig in the big blind, who we get into a big hand with later on, he decides to raise to 20. So with me only having 24 at this point, how did this happen? I don't even remember, but it's a slam dunk all in. And Scotto then decides that his hand that was only good for 5 is now good for 24 as well. So here we are, 3 ways to a flop. I'm all in. And the flop is 8, Jack, 7. So I'm already thinking I'm going to have to rebuy. I'm pulling money out my pocket in my mind already. So Craig decides to just jam all in, and Scotto decides to fold. So I'm already knowing I'm probably close to dead here, but Craig somehow jammed with ace queen. So I'm actually ahead here, and this is crazy. And look at this run out, and look at what happens, and then look at what would happen if Scotto would have called the all in.
Card. Is there a better high card around? About C from Max. Okay, he got a nice little song. That's right. Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
Crazy. Look at that.
Let's go.
Look at that.
There we go.
Let's go.
Look when he folded.
Let's go. So when Craig jams, Scotto has to fold 8-9. So he had a pair and a gut shot straight draw, and he would have turned it and won the pot. So that jam got him the fold, and ace king high for the win. Let's go. I told you this hand was crazy. All right, so this next hand is pretty interesting just because I get into it with my boy Finney. So I'm in a small blind with king 10 off, so I call his $3 straddle, and when it gets to him, of course, he raises the 12, and Scotto's next to act, and he calls saying, fuck your straddle. So I follow those same thoughts, and I call. So we're off to the flop, which comes 10, 5, 5, rainbow. So I check and flow, of course, and Finney says another 12, and Scotto gets out the way. Now it's on me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put him in a tough spot because I don't feel like he has anything. He's one of those guys that could have anything. So I decided to jam and put him all in, and he is in the tank. Look at this man's face.
You want to make the vlog or not, bro?
So I was hoping that little bit of heckling from the guys would have got him to jump in there, but he decides better of it. So we rabbit, and the turn was a 5, giving me a full house, and the river was an 8. So knowing this guy Finay will just bluff, I probably should have just called and hoped that he blasted the turn. But either way, I just wanted to put him in a tough spot and see that look on his face. So it's all good. We win the hand. We're off to the next one. All right, so we have reached the crescendo of the home game. I'm in middle position looking at a premium 6-9 of clubs. So when it gets to me, I bump it up to 3. My man Scotto in a small blind essentially min clicks it to 7. So when it gets to Craig in the big blind, he decides to bump it up again to 20. So now I didn't come to a home game to fold a 4-bet with 6-9 suited. I'm looking to crack his big hand. So I decided to go ahead and call. It ends up being 27 because Scotto's saying that he's going all in, which doesn't change the action. So I go ahead and stick into 27, and we're off to a flop. Now, the flop comes pretty bad. It's Queen, Jack, 9. So I got bottom pair. So if he puts out a bet, I'm out of there. But he actually checks to me, and I'm checking back because I know my hand's no good. And the turn is a miracle 6. So I now have 2 pairs. So he puts out a bet. I don't even remember how much the bet was, but I just put him instantly all in. And so when I do that, he snap calls. So I'm not exactly feeling great about it, but the river was a 6. So now I have a full house. And I turned my hand over so fast, thinking that this is just got to be good. And it turns out that he had pocket kings. And listen to the table footage of what everyone thought and what he said at the end about my decision to play the hand. Let's go! 6-9, baby!
Who's the donkey?
6-9! And I understand his sentiment, but to Craig, my rebuttal is, I'm the donkey with the chips, and to the victor goes the spoils. So thank you very much for your contributions. Appreciate you. All right, so that's the abrupt end to the home game vlog. There was a few other hands that I didn't get to capture. The later the night goes, the harder it gets to record. You know how it goes. But anyways, it was a great time. Shout out to my boy Steph for inviting me. I appreciate y'all for watching. This was probably my favorite vlog to make. So hopefully y'all will like, comment, and subscribe to it. Share it as well. So we were in the game for 98 and we were out for like 200. It was a roller coaster. We were down, we were up, but really I was just there to have fun, and that's exactly what I did. So like I said, hopefully y'all enjoyed. I'll see y'all in the next one. Appreciate y'all. Holla.